Okay, I hope my mic, yeah, it sounds like my mic's on great. Welcome to the band's 25th season. We've been here for 25 years. The band is sponsored by the Village of Buffalo Grove. It was started way back on October 4th, 2001. Think back, where were you in 2001? In 2001, assisted by Linda Rosen and the Buffalo Grove Arts Commission, which unfortunately no longer exists, Village President Elliot Hartstein and Assistant Village Manager, who is now the Village Manager of Highland Park, Gina Newkirk, we started the band with basically 10 pieces of borrowed music and 40 musicians who came to play. And since that time, we've grown a lot. Through our 25 years, we've been hosted by District 102, first at Meridian Middle School, thanks to Principal Susan Mann, who is our member of the Arts Commission and principal of the school, and now at Aptekissick Junior High School, the band program is run by Allison Rakickas. Allison was our associate conductor from the very first day. Allison, if you're here, take a bow. Today, our library is over 1,000 pieces that belong to the band. We have various equipment, large instruments, and we've developed a jazz band that's been around since 2009, and hopefully you'll get to hear them during the summer of this coming year. We've performed some of the greatest and best music in every genre, and have become one of the best bands in the Upper Illinois or Northern Illinois area, and we've done it without auditioning or charging a fee to belong. People find their place and they play. So it's been an honor to be the conductor from the very inception of the band. We've become a fabric of our community. Those of you who've gone to the 4th of July celebrations or to the Christmas concerts at St. Mary every year, you'll know that we've become a tradition in those locations. This year is no different. We will be playing on December 7th, so mark your calendars. We've also developed small chamber ensembles over the years and have held chamber concerts at the library and at Stevenson High School, something that very few band programs ever get to do, ever. We've seen marriages, births, and even a few deaths over the years. And some of those children that were born during the time of our inception have now gone on to college or even have come back from college. So we've been around a while. This will be my final season conducting the band. I started it when I was in my early 40s, and I'm about to reach the ripe old age of 72 if I make it another 2 weeks. And it's time to let somebody younger take over the effort. But I couldn't be prouder of what this band has accomplished. These musicians that are here show up every week on Thursday nights. They practice their music, and much of it is extremely difficult music, but they dig in. And as you'll hear tonight, they reach levels that you won't find in most community bands anywhere. Having said that, the first number that we played tonight was, and many of you know this, the Marriage of Figaro Overture. Now, the theme of our concert is American is Apple Pie. What in the heck am I doing starting a program with Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart? Well, Mozart lived to be only 35 years old. He was born in 1756 and 1791 was his year of death. During the time of the American Revolution, he was a teenager and already an accomplished violinist, pianist, and composer. And I truly believe that anybody in Europe knew about the great experiment that had begun in what is now the United States. This was written in 1786. 3 years later was the Constitutional Convention. And what made this overture, like most American innovations, something that was unique, was that he wrote an opera that was at times very serious, but other times extremely funny. And when he wrote it, He wrote an overture that, unlike other overtures in operas before and since, didn't contain a single melody that was sung in the rest of the opera. It was purely just an invention of his own mind that he dashed off the night before the premiere of the opera. So, for somebody who grew up in Vienna, he was very American in his interest in innovation and in getting audiences to lighten up and enjoy what opera was at that time, which was a popular form of entertainment. We're going to jump ahead now to Aaron Copland. He lived from 1900 to 1990 and was considered the Dean of American Composers. Much of what he wrote became the model for every American composer since then. And many of the people that wrote music from the time of his professional debut till his death basically studied with Aaron Copland, including Leonard Bernstein, who was his protege. The piece we're going to play is the Outdoor Overture. It was written in 1938. The piece was actually written for a high school academy in New York, the High School of Music and Arts. And one of the things you'll see is the type of things that Copland did with rhythm and with ensemble. Those kids must have been incredibly gifted to be able to understand this music. But that's what we'll be playing next, the Outdoor Overture. Listen for Copland's depiction of being in the great outdoors and seeing the sights of the forest and mountains in the background. The Outdoor Overture by Aaron Copland.
Thank you.
Can anything be more quintessentially American than that? Honest to goodness. The next piece actually does take a run at that. I don't know how many of you were around at the time. I was just born in 1953, but in 1952 and 1953 there was a documentary series about the battles and the military in World War II, and it focused on the naval battles. This is kind of Beckering. Can we get down just a bit? That's better. Okay, there were shows that were run weekly, and they made history, called Victory at Sea. Richard Rodgers wrote the music for it. Richard Rodgers, of course, was the famous composer of musicals, but he went outside of his normal box and wrote for this show. And after the show was a gigantic hit, he and Robert Russell Bennett worked on an arrangement that Robert Russell Bennett got credit for, and deservedly so. This was the Victory at Sea suite. And we're going to play that for you now. The various pieces of music that you'll hear in it, and the show is available. You could download it on YouTube. It's fascinating stuff. But we're talking about the ocean, about submarines under the ocean during peacetime before a battle, under the Southern Cross, and then eventually it leads you to the approach of the enemy and a battle. And the battle that takes place at sea, nobody really wins, because what you wind up seeing after that, it's highly evocative, is the wreckage in the ocean. But out of that wreckage, we get the hymn to the victors. And then we close with a return of the big wave of the open sea. I think you'll enjoy this. We played this for the first time as a group at our first premiere concert in 2002. So I think you'll enjoy this. Victory at Sea, Richard Rodgers, arranged by Robert Russell Bennett. Robert Russell Bennett was not just a composer who arranged other people's music. He wrote a piece that actually has become a staple in wind band literature called the Suite of Old American Dances, and he wrote that actually before Victory at Sea was put together. It was in 1949. There's 5 movements. They're all dances from America's early 19th century. So before jazz, before any of that. You'll hear the cakewalk, the schottisch, which by the way is not Scottish. It is actually a clog dance that was imported from Germany. And followed by that will be the Western one-step, the wallflower waltz, and the rag. I think you'll particularly enjoy a wallflower waltz, which isn't often played. A lot of times, for time's sake, they leave out that 4th movement. But if you can imagine 2 very uncomfortable people sitting on opposite sides of a ballroom, and they're both too shy to go up to the other person, but they eventually inch their way to each other and share just a few moments of being together on the dance floor, only to have to stop when the music stops and go back to their corners. I think you'll enjoy that section, even if you know this suite. It's one of my favorites, even though it isn't the one with all the flashy stuff in it. So, the Suite of Old American Dances by Robert Russell Bennett. I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did. This is going to be our intermission now. We're going to take 15 minutes. When you come back, and by the way, please avail yourself of the treats that are out there, but we've been requested to ask you, please don't bring them back into the auditorium. So eat them out there. So if you decide that you want like 4 cookies, you better smash them in your mouth when you're even finished. Having said that, when you come back, you're in for a rare treat. I think it's a rare treat. Wind bands don't often play full 4-movement symphonies, but we're going to play the entire Dvorak Ninth Symphony for our second half. All 4 movements, and they're glorious. So be back in 15, and we'll see you then for that. Thank you so much.
I got it. You want to pull? I got it. Okay. You already got it. It's a double reader.
So is the sign. So, as I mentioned before intermission, we're going to do something that's rarely heard in a wind band concert. We're going to play an entire symphony. In this case, it's the New World Symphony, or otherwise known as Symphony Number 9 by Antonin Dvorak. Dvorak was born in Bohemia, which is now Czechoslovakia, and he was born in 1841 and died in 1904. What that means for anybody who's got interest in anything about music history, he lived to see composers like Wagner, Berlioz, and one of his greatest supporters, Johannes Brahms. In 1903, have I got that right? Yes, he was asked to come to the United States. He was so famous in Europe that a person by the name of, I'm looking at my notes, Jeanette Thurber, who was the matriarch of a very wealthy family, invited him to become the head of the music school of the Academy of Music and Arts, which predated the development of Juilliard, at a rate that in today's dollars would be over $540,000 a year. That's how famous he was. Dvorak got to America with his family. He was a very simple person. He didn't like a lot of display of fame or anything like that, and actually spent his summers during those years in the United States going to Spillville, Iowa, where the Bohemian community had their major homestead so that he could be with people from his country. One of the things he said about the New World Symphony and about music in general for America is that the source of American music and the future of American music was going to be tied up with the fortunes of recognizing the contributions of African American and indigenous people, in those days what they called Indians. But that music was the future of American music. He was actually contracted by the New York Philharmonic to write the symphony we're about to play for you. And this became a hit almost immediately. And interestingly enough, although he swore that he did not use any Native American or any African American tunes per se, but was inspired by them, you could still hear in the second movement the spiritual Going Home. You could hear snippets of the Stars and Stripes Forever of all things in the first movement. So I think you're going to enjoy this. And as always in a multi-movement work, I think you recognize that when we play the Suite of Old American Dances, do not applaud between movements. We want you to bathe in this piece of music because it is such a wonderful classical piece. So the New World Symphony by Antonin Dvorak.
Thank you.